And the first one is Tucker Carlson on the Nelk Boys podcast revealed that the US government apparently broke into his Signal app to try to prevent him or at least look into his interview with Vladimir Putin. And this is before the Ukraine invasion. So let's just get into it. I chopped it into 5 clips, so we're going to weigh in.
I'm not hiding anything, but I was definitely hiding my plan to go interview Putin just because it's an interview.
So how did that happen?
Business.
How do you know the NSA broke into your Signal?
Because they admitted it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you tell us about that? Like, how did you find out?
I got a call from somebody in Washington who would know, just trust me, so I went up there for another reason, but this person said, are you going to come to Washington anytime soon? This was a year and a half ago. And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm going to be up in a week. Meet me Sunday morning.
So Tucker's breaking down how he believes the U.S. government broke into his Signal app to spy on his interview with Putin. Let's keep watching.
So weird. Like, who does that? Just text me. You know what I mean? Just text me. No. So I go, and this person's like, and this is someone who would know. Are you planning a trip to go see Putin? This was the summer before the war started. And I was like, how would you know that? I haven't told anybody. I mean, anybody. Not my brother, not my wife, nobody. And just because, it's one of a million things you're working on. But that was one of them. I want to go interview. Why wouldn't I want to interview Putin?
Of course.
I want to interview Xi. I want to interview everybody, right? Yeah. That's kind of my job.
So someone had known he was interviewing Putin, even though he hadn't really told anybody. So he assumed that they were spying on him. Let's keep watching.
We want to get Kim Jong-un on here one day.
Of course. We met him.
You did?
Yep.
Oh, we got to talk about that after. But
super interesting. But anyway.
Holy shit.
How would you know that? Because NSA pulled your text with this other person you were texting. How did you know that? And so I was intimidated. I'm embarrassed to admit, but I was completely freaked out by it. I called a U.S. senator.
Understandable. When someone else tells you what you're doing when you haven't told anybody. Tucker is saying that he thinks, or he apparently knows, that the NSA had pulled up his Signal app, which is supposed to be one of those secure apps like Telegram, Signal. It's secure, it's protected. That's why he was extra creeped out. Let's keep watching.
Who I know, not that well, but it seems like a trustworthy person. And I told him a story. I said, I just want to tell you this. And then I went on TV on Monday and I'm like, this happened. And so they had, in Congress asked NSA, and NSA is like, yes, we did this, but for good reason. What would be a good reason to read my, what? But the head of NSA, it's fine. It gets, because everyone's in on it. Republicans and Democrats are all in on it.
Interesting. So I guess the NSA admitted, yeah, we did it. We spied on you for good reason, though. Of course, it's always good reason. And I love how Tucker says both parties are in on it, Democrats and Republicans, because that's something sometimes people forget in the political battle, that there's just some things that are above both parties. All right, let's watch the last clip.
And by it, I mean the assumption there's no privacy whatsoever, that they have a right to know everything you're saying and thinking.
That shit's scary.
And that's just not a right as far as I'm concerned. You have by the way, if you have no privacy, you have no freedom. Freedom is predicated on privacy. It's like none of your business.
You don't even think about that. Like they can just go through your phone and find everything.
They did it to me, so I know that for a fact. But again, if you have no privacy, you have no freedom.
Yeah.
How about this? It's none of your business. If that's not a good enough answer, then you are a slave.
I love Kyle from the Nelk Boys. He's like, you don't even think of stuff like that. It's like, you don't think of stuff like that, but some people do. Jokes aside, I think what Tucker was saying was important. If you don't have privacy, you don't have freedom. And because he's a high-level journalist interviewing Putin, the NSA, the National Security Agency, is that what it stands for? That's what Edward Snowden blew the whistle on. That's why he's not allowed in the U.S. He said they're spying on everybody. I think he was telling the truth, and because he told the truth and broke a law, I guess, even though they're breaking a law, that's okay when they break a law, right? It's like the banks. It's like they break a law, it's okay, but when you break a law, it's not okay. Whatever. Edward Snowden kind of blew the whistle on that, and Tucker Carlson, I don't know if I would call it blowing the whistle, but he's telling his story of how the NSA was looking into his interview with Putin. Before we move to the next story, what's interesting about the whole Putin-Russia thing is I try to take it back to 2016. they were calling everything Russian, Russian, Russian. Oh, if you like Bernie Sanders, you must be Russian. There's no way you could like Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. We told you to like Hillary Clinton. And New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, all the late nights. We told you it's Hillary Clinton. How could you possibly like Bernie Sanders more when we've already decided who you vote for even before the election started? And that was creepy to me. It's like, why do they keep calling me Russian? Maybe I just don't like Hillary Clinton. This is even, to be honest, this is why I even got into news journalism. It wasn't even over Trump, and it wasn't even Republican stuff at the time. It was more, I was just disgusted that the Democratic establishment was trying to tell people what the answer was. And I was like, I know everything's kind of like scammy, and I know America's not completely free, but I did think that we had the right to think what we wanted to think and kind of, support who we wanted to support. And I watched the establishment, the media, the tech companies. I watched them work so hard against average American citizens who just didn't want Hillary Clinton. And they used Russian propaganda, Russian bots, Russia. So the narrative against Russia was already starting in 2016. It's deeper than that. They started calling Trump supporters Russians, grandmas who like Trump. Everything was Russian. So the fact that Tucker Carlson was trying to interview Putin, regardless, I mean, he is a journalist. You are allowed to interview people, especially at his level. The fact that they were breaking into his Signal account to basically spy on it, it's creepy on multiple reasons. One, it just seemed like they wanted a war with Russia, whether they admit it or not. And anybody that was going to jeopardize their agenda against Russia or, their odds with the Russian regime was going to, at any cost, they were going to try to stop it, whether you're a Bernie voter, a Trump voter, or Tucker Carlson, a journalist. And it's creepy because, if they're going to spy on Tucker Carlson, who aren't they spying on? We've known this for a while, but it really hits home. It's creepy. And like Tucker said, if you don't have privacy, what do you have? I don't need to tell you why spying is weird and odd, but you guys get it.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast.